So I just want to start speaking a little bit to the tides and a way of understanding or thinking about the tides that may be less familiar, perhaps not at all familiar. And also the science of consciousness that's behind this particular reflection that I'd love to share. And it's based very much on initially on personal experience, initially on personal reflection, but I definitely draw from a much deeper pool than my own insight, thank goodness. So to reference that source of insight for myself and where I go to with this, you know, we think of the tides in three specific ways, three specific flavors or feelings in terms of what is palpated. Also the rhythm of the tides varies between the craniosacral rhythm, the mid-tide, and the long tide. And then we speak of still point. And in the tradition that calls my soul, we are informed that everything in the physical realm has an exact counterpart, reflection, vibrational reflection in the subtle realms, specifically the astral realm and the causal realm. Astral realm in brief being a subtle energy realm, and the causal being an ideational realm. And beyond that, union with divine source. So why is that relevant to our work in craniosacral therapy? Well, I would like to suggest that it's relevant because what we're feeling when we feel into these subtle tides is we're feeling the shifted consciousness. We're perceiving the more subtle aspects of consciousness and perceiving, first of all, the physical tide, physical body, and the craniosacral rhythm. And then going beyond that to palpate or tune into intuitively the mid-tide, astral, and the long tide, causal. And I'd love to explore and suggest holding space for the still point actually being that point of union. And we often wonder why the work that's done at the most subtle levels is the most profound. You know, you might think because we're so physically oriented in this world, we're oriented to things that we can touch with our senses. And so we're oriented to thinking in terms of the physical as being, you know, you think about adjustments in the body being done chiropractically or more gently, perhaps in an osteopathic. Well, the chiropractic has come a long way, and it also bridges these fields now. When you come into craniosacral work, a lot of times initially we're feeling for, and it's important to feel for it, the craniosacral rhythm. We need to become familiar with the tides and feeling the tide of the craniosacral rhythm, the physical rhythm of the cerebrospinal fluid. Absolutely an anchoring point in terms of our relationship to this work, this tidal fluidic work. But I would suggest that as we develop our inner silence, our stillness, and also develop our intuitive touch in this work, that we are going out way beyond the realm of physical structure in the body. And of course in biodynamic work, that's really the focus, is this subtle field, as I call it, the subtle field of energies beyond the physical. When you learn to still your consciousness, when you learn to still the mind, our intuitive perception magnifies vastly. And so in my training, kind of one of our primary starting points actually with Wes Vaught, who's the absolute wizard that I was blessed to study craniosacral with. his starting point was stillness. His starting point was silence. And that extended even to our first phone call, which, if you've ever had your first initial meeting with somebody by phone and had it be an experience of stillness, you'll recognize that that's an unusual starting place on a phone call where there's no other sensory information to engage with. But in meeting Wes, he fell silent within the first few seconds of saying hello. Not knowing him and not knowing the way he works, not knowing this field yet, I was on the other end of the phone a little bit curious. Would he ever come back? Is he okay? Has something happened? Or is this guy just really strange? And actually no, because within a very short amount of time I could feel his field arriving in a sort of relational invitation to connect at a subtle level. And that was his starting point for this work. And if it has not been your starting point, I would like to suggest that at this point in time on the planet, this is what's arising within the field of craniosacral therapy. This is what's arising within the field of information that we are interacting with. And I would encourage you with all my heart to dive into this subtle field, dive into the field of silence, the field of stillness and intuitive perception, because your work will be magnified beyond your imagining. Your reach, your capacity to hold space for the unfolding of grace, which actually is what is doing the work. And it always has been, but we've called it a lot of other things. And that time is really past. So while we'll continue to explore the physical structure, because it just gives us more insight, more information, more depth of knowledge, allows for precision where the physical body wishes to be met, but really coming most strongly with most of our attention now into the subtle field. So just sending so many blessings and excited to witness this work really coming into its own. Blessings and aloha.